The tools needed for this repair are a flathead screwdriver, a turkey baster, a 1/4-inch nut driver, and a glass of hot water. We have a Kenmore freezer on top refrigerator, and the problem with this is it's leaking water out onto the floor. It leaks water from the freezer down into the refrigerator section, so they get water on their shelves, and then it goes down and pools or puddles underneath the crisper drawers and eventually rolls out onto the floor. Alright, so given the symptoms that we have, what's happening is the refrigerator it's going to have a clogged drain tube, so that when it goes into an automatic defrost cycle and melts all the frost off the evaporator, it's supposed to go down through the drain tube into the drain pan back in the compressor compartment of the refrigerator, but that tube is clogged, so the water has nowhere to go. What it's doing is refreezing underneath the back panel of the freezer here, and then also the water is dripping down through the duct into the refrigerator section, and the water is then on the shelves of the refrigerator and filling up the bottom below the crisper drawers, and then finally as it fills up, it pushes the water out of the front of the unit and onto the floor, and that's where we're getting our leak from. So the first thing we have to do is what we're going to have to do is clear out the drain tube, and to do that we need to get to the drain tube at the freezer section behind the freezer panel. The first thing we're going to do that then is take out our freezer shelf, and we're going to lift up on one side and slide it to the left, lift up on the right, and remove the rack from the freezer. Alright, the next thing we're going to need to do is remove our bottom panel. To do that, there's going to be 2 1/4-inch screws on either side in the front, on both sides in the front. So we'll remove our 2 screws. And now we should be able to take out our bottom panel. And you can now see where the ice has built up. The water has melted off the evaporator and then refroze underneath the bottom panel here, and it's all back underneath the panel there because the drain tube is clogged. Alright, the next thing we have to do then is take off our back panel. To do that, there's going to be 2 1/4-inch screws on either side of the air duct there. So we'll remove those. And now we should be able to just take off our back panel, lean it forward. There's going to be a ground screw connected on the back side of the panel here. It just clips on, so we're just going to remove our ground screw. And then also there's going to be our ice maker harness that snaps in to the tab on the back side here, and mine was already taken off, so it was already off. But to remove that harness for where it's set up for an automatic ice maker, there's just going to be a tab you have to pull away, and the harness will come off of there, and now you're ready to remove your back panel. Alright, now what we're going to have to do, we can access everything now with the panels out. Our drain tube is going to be in the middle underneath the evaporator here. This is our evaporator. This is our heater that runs underneath the evaporator. So about every 8 hours what happens is it goes into an automatic defrost. It turns this heater on, melts the frost off the evaporator. You can see the frost on our evaporator here. And then it drips down into a pan here, which then goes down through a drain tube and sits into the bottom drain pan at the back of the refrigerator. And it's not able to do that now, and that's why we're building ice up, and then the water overflows into our air ducts here and here and drips down into the refrigerator. So what we need to do is clear all the ice out of here and be able to get down to the drain tube, and then we can clear the clog out of the drain tube either by using some hot water and possibly a turkey baster to force the water down through to clear it out, or we can use some compressed air, some CO2, or you could use a fine piece of wire or something that you can use to run down through the drain line and dislodge the clog. So I'm just going to begin taking a flat blade screwdriver or putty knife, something along those lines. We're just going to start removing our ice chunks. Our drain tube is going to be right behind this air duct on the back side of there. So to get to that, we're going to need to get this air duct out of the way. And to do that, we want to, it's kind of frozen in there where the ice has froze it solid, so we don't want to bust the styrofoam up. So we're going to kind of pour some hot water around there, loosen it up, and try and get it out of there without breaking it so we can get to our drain. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of some of this ice in the meantime. Alright, so we got a glass of hot water here. We're going to pour around the air duct and melt the ice from around it. We can use a turkey baster to help us so that we can get the air duct out of the way. Alright, so now we're able to remove the air duct, and you can see our drain hole right there. It goes down to the drain tube. And you can use a screwdriver to kind of get the big chunks of ice out of there, or as much as you can with the screwdriver. And then we're going to use the hot water again to force down there and melt out the rest of it, and also get the clog that has built up out. And you'll know you'll get the that you've gotten the clog and all the ice out of there when the water starts to drain down, or when you're forcing it through, it actually goes down through and doesn't just come back out into the freezer section. And it may take a while with the hot water, because as soon as you put it on there, it's going to lose its temperature pretty fast with everything in the freezer being cold. And like I said, you can use some CO2. You would have to thaw out the ice first, or take a smaller screwdriver, piece of wire, something along those lines that you can get down, snake down through the drain line. Looks like we got the ice and the clog taken care of now, because we're able to, there's no more water, and it looks like it all drained down through. I'm going to fill our cup up again, pour the rest of this down through, and you can see now that it's all draining down the drain tube. Alright, now that we got our drain tube cleared and water's able to flow down through the drain tube, now we can put everything back together in reverse order that we took it apart. So the first thing is going to be our air duct that we took out. The opening and the foil tape is going to go towards the evaporator, just like the other side is. So we're going to put that back in place right there. The next thing would be our back panel. So when we put our back panel in, before we mount it in place, we want to connect our ice maker harness into the tab of the back panel, and then also our ground wire clip onto the back panel. So we'll grab our back panel and put it on. I'm just putting the ice maker harness back in place, the ground wire clip back in place, and you have to line up your air duct with the air duct hole of the bottom freezer, the freezer floor here. So we'll put that back in there, kind of guide us. We're going to take any loose wires that we have and put them back where they go so they don't hit our fan blade. And we can lift the back panel in place. We also are going to have, this one doesn't have the ice maker hooked up to it, but the fill tube and everything is ready for an ice maker. So the fill tube is going to come through the hole of the back panel, the top left corner. So you're going to might have to adjust that as you put the back panel in place. And we can now reattach our two 1/4 inch screws of the back panel. And now we're ready to put the bottom panel back in place. And the back of the panel is going to be notched out to go around the air duct. So we're going to slide that. Underneath, it's going to have two tabs that stick out from the air duct here. We're going to put our panel underneath those 2 tabs and reinstall our 2 1/4" screws for the bottom panel. And next we can put our shelf back in place. Just gonna slide one side in and then the other. The symptom of this appliance was it was leaking water into the refrigerator section and also out onto the floor. To fix that, the repair we did was we cleared the drain tube of debris.